Hey everybody, this is Merrick coming at you not live, and today we're going to be taking a look at some of the Playmates Toys Godzilla figures. More specifically here, I have a Drownviper, Shimo, which was from Series 1, and Tiamat. So, the thing about these that kind of gets on my nerves, and it's not about really the figures themselves, it's more so related to how people are sort of treating them. And let me get into that in like 1 second. I know we're just kind of like jumping in. Long story short, this is a second recording from a previous recording that got lost due to a fatal error somewhere. But as I was saying, I really enjoy these toys as a sort of bridge between a collector's figure and a non-collector's figure. That is to say that these toys really do like express, I guess, the way an American toy line makes stuff versus a Japanese toy line does. Now, on top of that too, I'm going to get into more of that in a sec as well, but on top of that too, the thing that's been bugging me about these is that these guys, especially Shimo for a time, but like these two specifically were so hard to find. These three are because of fucking scalpers getting them, which is doubly annoying here because these are specifically children's toys. These aren't really collector's figures in a sense. These are like actual children's plaything kind of stuff. And the fact that scalpers are kind of like, getting their fucking grubby mitts on them and like daring to upcharge lots of money for them is kind of scummy. Especially because, like I said, the Legendary Films Godzilla movies, I don't want to get into like this deep talk here, but the Legendary Films, like Godzilla movies, are a really good way for like kids to get into the series because it's got like that mid to late Showa era like monster fight type of stuff. Hell, even like I know the Heisei era had the Heisei and both the Millennium era also had like a lot of like monster versus monster fights too, but that's besides the point. Like these are great for kids to get into the series before we get into like the Godzilla nuclear metaphor, super seriousness of stuff such as Shin or the last Godzilla movie by Toho. But that's besides the point here, is that like, so these are very like exemplary of the classic style of Godzilla toys that we used to get. If you remember seeing them back in like 2005, around that era, 2002, 2005, you started seeing them. Maybe a little less detailed, and I can't really talk about like articulation in those because those varied depending on like the toy and whatnot. But the point is that like these are children's toys and they're being scalped, and I don't think that that's kind of cool. But as collector's pieces too, for what they are, like these are actually like pretty legit for the most part. Maybe Shimo not so much, but I'll get into that as we talk about them. Only because there are other options for collectors that are more expensive than this, and hell, I'm not talking about scalping prices. I'm just talking about price in general. But for now, the point is that like these are really nice, and these might be the only figures that we'll get of them. So I'm going to start talking about them in release order. So first things first, so I know Shimo was in Wave 1, so I'm just going to move over Tiamat and the Drownviper real quick, and we'll get to talk about our dog, cat, animal, ice dragon, Ice Komodo. So Shimo here, also I'm going to remove her ice breath just for the sake of, having a pretty decent view of the figure. So Shimo here, for what she is, she's really well done. I like the detailing, and I like the fact that, she's good for what she needs to be. And that's just being, a cool, very light articulation, which again is fine. She's just kind of going to be like, doing her fucking like ice breath attack and whatnot. Again, kid's toy. This is perfectly fine for like a little display piece as well. So the articulation is nothing too crazy. I really do love, like, the transparent blue for the spikes going down to, like, the painted detailing of the blue on the tail spikes. And it's really nice to see, and I can honestly have a feeling they could have done, like, a light up feature and it would still look really cool. I know they even like re-released this mold in a 5-pack, which again, good for kids, where they did some, like, blue shading along her back, and it's like, oh, it looks very nice. I guess it gives off, like, the glow and whatnot, but this makes me think that there should have been, like, a light-up feature or something, or they could have had, like, a deluxe or something like that. Pay a little extra, get a little button, lights up and whatnot, but that's, you know, neither here nor there. I know they have a roaring one now, which is kind of cool. But, I digress. Shima, though, suffers from one problem that I think a lot of toy companies are kind of, like, fumbling with here, and that's basically the fact that I think that she is too white. And what I mean by that is the type of white plastic or paint that they use just doesn't show off, like, enough detail. She's very detailed up close, and you know, when you actually feel her, she's textured and whatnot, but she's so glossy white, it's very... like, the camera has trouble, like, picking it up, but she's got, like, nice little ridges there. She's not, like, a flat, you know, like, smooth. What I think this figure is missing is some dry brushing. Either gray or black. Something to give her texture depth. Like, this is perfectly fine. Like, this is perfectly cute. She looks good in person, too. Like, when you've got her in, like, the right light, too. And when you have her at just the right bent. But because she's supposed to be, like, a lizard creature, she's just, like, off texture. There just needs to be something to give the scales, like, some depth and whatnot to make this go. I know Hiya is making, or made as of this time, a Shima figure that is, whatchamacallit, smaller than this, obviously, maybe about the same size, with more detail, better articulation, that type of stuff. But, again, that's a $50 thing. That's a collector's toy. This is an actual, like, you know, regular toy. But I think that the regular toy for a kid, too, should use at least a little bit of better texturing work in terms of, like, paint. And I'll get into that in a sec, because the other two perfectly catch that sort of feeling. Though I really do like the tail. And, again, her tail is very smoothly articulated. Well... very loosely articulated. It's nothing too bad, though. It stays and whatnot. It's not going to, like, flip around. I tend to do her like this or like that. It really depends on how she is on a shelf, but yeah. She also came with this accessory, which is her ice breath. One thing in particular, it's nothing too crazy, and I don't think this is made of, like, the same sort of, like, blast effect material that the Transformer stuff has, so I don't think this is going to damage her like those would do on a Transformer. But basically how you kind of get it in there is... you unrealistically open her mouth wide. I think they did that only because, you know, as you can sort of see, it's untextured in there. No paint, stops at the mouth tongue. And then you just kind of, like, jam it up in that hole in her mouth there. And then you could effectively have her mouth open or close as much as you want in order to get her to do her ice breath attack. This is how I kind of have her sitting up on my shelf. I know I had her with that in her mouth the whole time. But it looks really nice. I like the blue on this. I like that it's a lighter blue than her spikes, sort of denoting that it's more regular icy than just the color of her, like, scale spikes on her back and whatnot. Really nice attention to detail. And I also like the fact that they gave her eyes, they made her eyes little blue dots. It's cute, it's nice. But yeah, no, like, Shima's a good figure for what she is. I'm also going to talk about them not just in release order, but in the order I picked them up. So up next, we have Tiamat. Tiamat is a monster that I fell in love with in the movie. And unfortunately, because that tends to happen with a lot of, like, air quotes, breakout characters that I like so much, she gets the short end of the stick and dies almost immediately as she's introduced. Godzilla just kind of comes in and whoop, just grabs her and kills her and whatnot, despite being covered in razor-sharp spines and bullwhips and everything like that. So, Tiamat here, I couldn't even believe when I saw this figure. I saw a review of her, and I'll explain that in a sec too, because she's very loose. I saw a figure, I have no idea if, like, they had the same problem or not. It's been a while, but the thing I like about her is just look at that color. When I saw this toy on a video, I couldn't believe how much color she had. I don't think she even had this much color in the movie, as far as I remember. I haven't rewatched it in a bit, but like, this is so nice. I love the freaking purples on the spikes. I love the green and off blue green on the body. The cream colored stuff to like the cream color on her, like, I guess, chest. Is that what you call this, or her abdomen? It just looks so nice, and also like the fucking frills. She has this sort of look. Oh shit! You mess around with her. Again, I'll talk about the articulation problem in a second. Again, she's got like, again, I don't want to say limited articulation. Just for what she is, she's got like enough articulation for what she needs to be and what she has to have. But God, I really love the color scheme. She's got like that sort of Chinese dragon eel kind of look to her, with the little bits of like frilled lizard and catfish in there, and a little beaked mouth. She really does. She got like that dragon aesthetic. Well, I kind of wish I had a Manda figure or something to compare her to, because I feel like those two would be like a decent, nice comparison. You know, the Chinese dragon look to a Chinese dragon look. And hell, I was gonna say, like, I hope we kind of get a version of Manda, unless this Tiamat is Manda from this version of Godzilla and the legendary stuff. But I really love this figure. I love the fucking, like, oh, whoop. Oh, yeah, God, she looks so good on camera, and she looks good on, like, really cool angles and whatnot. I really wouldn't want to see something like this come out of the water at me if I was on a little boat or something, like, Come on, focus, baby. Also, I've been having some camera trouble, so I can't tell a little bit on my end sometimes if the camera is focusing or not, so bear with me on that. But yeah, I really like some of the angles that you can get her to go at and whatnot. It really gives off that, like, aquatic creature vibe. And that's something that I love about, like, some of these toys, is that, like, oh, and also some of the monster designs from the legendary movies, that, like, they really capture, like, aquatic designs. Like, aquatic animals are some of my favorite things to look at. And Tiamat just gets that down in spades. So on to, like, her articulation real quick. As you sort of saw, she's very, like, floopy and loose. Now, I don't know if that's specifically my copy of her, or if this is a common thing in all of them, but I've seen a review where nobody really talked about that, but I got her out of the box and she was like, you know, like all woo, all floopy and woobly and woo, except for her head. Her head is very stable on that ball joint. So again, there's really, I don't even know if I can complain about it, because it's just like everything else about her looks so nice. It's a little hard to get her to stand when she's like all like floopily woopily around and whatnot. But you can really get her into some nice, like, turning poses and whatnot. Get her to, like, yeah, like that. You know what I mean? You could get her to look good at a lot of angles just by that alone. And it's sort of helped by the fact that, you know, she's got, like, the little lizard hand feet and whatnot. Like, she's a nice figure. No matter how you slice it, you could really get her into some, and I keep going to keep saying this, you really get her into some, like, nice angled poses and whatnot. Oh, man, I'm going to talk about, like, something in a sec with the next figure. So here's something. Oh, I'm just going to get her off a little over there. So here's her accessory. She came with the stealth sub that was following her around during the movie and whatnot, right? Now, the thing about this is that, like, we sort of see the monsters scale to the submarine and, like, human technology. And they're huge, and I'm not sure if this is in scale with, like, the older Godzilla films and whatnot. Like, again, I'm not sure why they would give you this, too. Like, she doesn't really need an accessory, but, you know, I guess you get whatever. You know, she could attack it, eat it, whatever the frick, because this gets blown up by Godzilla, either way. But the point is that, like, the sense of scale here is really, like, oh my god. I feel like the legendary monsters are some of the largest Godzilla monsters to date. And that's, again, only really because, like, I know in some of the older movies they were picking up and throwing cars and tanks. So, like, I know that submarine's supposed to be, like, bigger than a tank or a car or something like that. So, I don't know. Like I said, I'd have to see them all together on, like, a size chart or something to really get that down. But I really like the fact that you can get something like this you get like a little toy like this to get a sense of scale of this monster, and like attacks the submarine, or like like chops it up like fucking whatchamacallit, chops it up like fresh vegetables for a salad with her razor spines and whatnot. God, Tiamat is such a good design. I fell in love with this design, and I'm so glad that they made a toy of this. And we're okay. Quick talk. Like I said, how Hiya was making one for Shimo. Quick talk. The annoying thing about like Japanese figures versus like American toys here. So American toys will always tend to like make, as we saw with Star Wars in the past, that American toys will always tend to make like characters that were there for like a split second. We haven't seen it in recent times, though it has been popular in like the Sonic line and whatnot. We get like, we've gotten Big, even though he's a voice character or whatever. But we get like a lot of facets of different characters in this type of stuff. So that's nice to see. And that's nice to see that's still alive with like Playmates here. We get like Tiamat and whatnot. Because I don't think if Hiya does make one of these, I'm gonna be like, it's gonna be amazing, because the Shimo one looks really good too. But I'm gonna move on from her, because here's one that definitely, if they actually make, here's one that fucking Hiya will never do. And this is the longest boy, the Drownviper. So, okay. I don't remember seeing this in the movie at all. I think it might have been like a blink and you'll miss it kind of scene, where King Kong comes in and kills this thing and eats it, as far as I can tell. So, as you can see, this is a very eel-like creature, and also it's kind of hard to like get his explanation. I'll get into the articulation in a second, because he's also very floopy boy. But straight up, I love this thing. The texture work on this is brilliant. You can feel every individual like scale or wrinkle in its leathery body. Like, this has got a lot more detail than Shimo does, even. Like, as much as I hate to say it, I can see why these things... As much as I hate to say it, I can see why these figures were scalped. And just look at them! Look at this! Look at fucking... You saw Tiamat before. Let's look at this, though. Like, there's gills here on both sides that are, like, molded in. Just this fine work of fins. The yellow stripes going down the sides. The back spines, just this color combo of the blue, white, and yellow alone sells this thing. And then on top of that too, this very fishy, eel-y face with those teeth. Oh my god. Like, okay. My main wheelhouse, and when it comes to like my entertainment, I still love action figures too. Hell, I would have gone out and fucking bought hunting down the frickin' Age of the Primes figures if I didn't love action figures too. But my main wheelhouse for my like entertainment, when I like need some downtime to myself, is video games, right? So this thing straight up reminds me of a boss, or like this thing reminds me of the game The Ocean Hunter, which is a Sega on-rails shooter in the same vein as like House of the Dead or the old Lost World arcade machine. Again, if you've ever seen those, really fun games. So, I just gotta love, like, that eel-y face, that just, like, I feel like this thing could be a boss. You could get this thing in so many nice, like, curled-up poses and resting and whatnot. It's just like, Hell, before, in my old recording, I even gave myself, like, an intrusive thought. Maybe you can get one of these and kind of, like, turn it into, like, a Colo clawfish from, Return of the Jedi, from, Phantom Menace. It just looks that, like, nice. It's not perfect, it's not like, but, I don't know. It's not perfect for something like that, but this thing looks so freaking cool, and I just love how you can, like, get them to curl up, and, like, I love ocean creatures, man. Ocean creatures are, like, my shit. Fuck, I watched Jaws a shit ton as a kid. Maybe that's the thing that got me into that type of stuff. But, yeah, no, like, this thing's cool. I love the jaw. And you might be wondering, so he specifically didn't come with an accessory, because... I think that Again, I'm laughing at myself. Like, this is like the funniest thing ever. So what they decided to do with this guy was they gave him, out of all of them, a play feature. So here, watch this. I gotta be careful with this too. So like King Kong, you could pull the ball joint out of his head. They didn't like... They didn't make this like a plug-in type of deal. They made this like a... Just pull the ball joint out. It's perfectly fine, kiddo. And you can sort of... It's like nerve endings. Ah, it's still alive. That's good. That's funny. The fact that you could mess around with the ball joint and it opens the jaw. Oh my god. This thing is so fucking funny. I'm probably not gonna do that a lot more. I don't want that to break because that does not seem like a good connection. But like usually when they do play features like that, they like Star Wars did it. Okay, Star Wars did one with the fucking, not the Rancor. What the hell is that thing called? The Wampa. You just pull the arm off of the joint and whatnot. But I know there was like some where they had like a plug you can like sort of plug in on pegs. You pull it off like, there's meat or whatever the frick. It's got a meat arm on the inside. But again, I digress. I love this thing. I love how eely it is. I love how fishy it looks. It's so fucking neat. I'm just going to get everybody back into frame here because I did want to talk about something else. So I had this thought when I was like messing around with them. I had this one when I was like messing around with them for like before like recording and whatnot. And for the while I've had them all. That do these things stack up to SH figure arts? And I don't mean that like do they like I don't mean that like, oh, like of course these aren't going to be as like super detailed, even though these are like really nice and good and whatnot, and we're probably not going to get better detailed figures than these. But the point, we're probably not going to get any better. Oh my god, I can't talk right now. Better detailed figures than like these two of them, most likely. Do they scale well with SH Monster Arts? And in fact, I do think they do. So here's my SH Monster Arts Mechagodzilla 2 and my SH Monster Arts Moguera. Oh, yeah, no, that looks nice. So if you are a collector, you can see that these would look good with like other stuff. Of course, they're obviously going to look like, you know, more play thingy and whatnot, but that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly acceptable for like kids' toys. I've seen people like just shit on these for like no reason at all. Oh, they're like Playmates. Like, they're not detailed. They're not detailed. I'm like, you calling this not detailed? Seriously, guys? Like, it's been annoying me lately with some of the toy people on YouTube. It's just that it's like, calm down, have fun. Like, they're toys, man. Just have fun with it. Like, oh my god, I think these are like $10 a piece if I'm not mistaken again. For $10, you can do worse. The Sonic figures for $10 are even great. Like, I really don't get it. Like, these look nice together. Like, I really love my fucking Moguera. Okay, yeah, no, like Shimo and Moguera together. Shimo, Moguera, and that and this thing. Oh, you could wrap this thing around Moguera. Oh, this is so cool. You can wrap it around poor... You don't want to forget about poor Mechagodzilla 2. I'm here too, pal. I'm always here. My little dopey mecha boy. He's a good guy. But either way, I love these figures. I think they scale well with SH Figure Arts if you want to like throw them together with them and whatnot. They're nice collector's toys and they're nice children's toys. They really don't deserve to be scalped the way they do for children's toys. I don't even know if I should blame Playmates or the stores for not like stocking them better. Hell, like I've seen some of like the ridiculous shit, but again, that's besides the point. If you want them, get them. That's my old saying, right? If it makes you happy, go for it. Don't let me be beholden in saying that. I will speak the praise of these figures, but don't let me, Merrick Ishtar, be your deciding factor. Decide for yourself. If you see them and you want them, get them. They're worth it, I think. These are really nice to have in a collection. I really love the way that this fucking tail looks like a betta fish. Oh, I love the inspiration. This is such a really nice design. You know what? I'm probably gonna do like, I want to do like an underwater diorama. I got a bunch of different types of like fictional sea creature like figurines and toys and shit. Oh, that would be so cool to do like a sort of aquarium of something like that. Now I want to get a fucking mosasaur from Jurassic World. That would be so cool, even though they're real. But you get the point. Oh, that would be so cool. All right. Anyway, guys, thank you guys for checking out my video. I'll catch everybody later. Merrick out. Peace.